Let's continue on our series Adventurous Action. If you didn't watch the first parts, check the links in the description. From where we ended when Jumong and his men attacked the Han Iron Army. They decide to run away, wondering how the Darmui army fought this Iron soldiers. Jumong tells them they don't have a chance of defeating by battling face to face, and now they are going to be searching for them. And he concludes that he will deal with the Iron soldiers alone, let Marie and others go save the refugees. That night they were searching for Jumong and his men. Marie and the group also attacked the rest guarding the refugees. They learned the techniques of killing these soldiers. Jumong told them to target the neck, their own spears can penetrate their armor. As well as the arrow, they managed to kill them all. Jumong also attacks the rest who are searching. His first attempt was useless, he tries again and hit the neck. That's the spot where the armor doesn't cover. That's possible if you're a skilled archer like Jumong. The governor is informed how the Iron Army were annihilated by unknown group of assassins and also the refugees escaped. The governor couldn't believe the Iron Army can be defeated. Governor tells him to send the soldiers to catch them and should be done secretly. They send more soldiers. So Sono and the group were aside seeing. Wote says seeing that the Iron soldiers are involved, there must be something unusual happened. The governor meet the chief of weaponry, Sanong Sung, from Han Noro. The governor inform him the separation of the people who immigrated from Han Nation can only weaken the power of the Gojian refugees. He continues and inform him the Prince of Buyo is in Hyonta City, and wants to know the technique of the preparation and production of the iron weapons. After governor meets Daiso and tell him the chief of weaponry approved, and now they will send the ironsmith leader to Buyo to hand down the technique. That second the governor's daughter comes in and serves them a drink. The governor introduces her to Daiso. After the two move out and have some conversation, Wote informs Chief Yuntabal the governor agreed to meet with him, so Sono asks what he will do when he meet with the chief of weaponry. Yuntabal thinks of just buying the technique. In Buyo the star girl comes and meet Jumong's mother. She advises her to tell Jumong to leave Buyo and never return. If he doesn't, he will die. Jumong and his men manage to save some refugees. Jumong tells Yotbo to take the refugees. As for him and the rest will take care of the Iron soldiers, after getting away from the Hyonta area. Then Hyotbo will meet them at Hyonta City. The Iron Army was on patrol searching for them. Yuntabal meets the governor and requests him to arrange a meeting with the chief of weaponry, which the governor agrees to. They meet and Yuntabal says he wants to buy the Han Nation's iron weapons. Instead the chief is annoyed and leave. When they are leaving, Daiso's man Naru sees them. Jumong gives his men some instructions. After a while they come back being chased by the Iron Army. Jumong begins to kill them with arrows, and others decide to retreat. But he was not done. That night he attacks them again. They chase him down, but it turns up to be a trap which the Han soldiers couldn't escape and Jumong slaughters them. The governor was having a small talk with Daiso. Dong-sun informs him the Iron soldiers were again killed and the refugees got away, and the ones who helped the refugees had superhuman powers. Yotbo reaches in Hyonta City and meets his brothers. They decide to have a drink. Jumong tells them he must find out exactly how many refugees are enslaved, and where the slave camp is located. Jumong tells them he didn't quit the Crown Prince competition because of Buyang. He would have slain Dochi and taken Buyang away. But the reason he withdrawn is that he didn't know what he was supposed to do as a Crown Prince. That second Jia and Seong comes in and sees them. They immediately take Jumong to Sono. Naru tells Daiso Yuntabal and his group are here in Hyonta City. He immediately comes and requests to meet Sono. He comes in and this shocks everyone inside the room including himself. He asks Jumong what he's doing in Hyonta City. Jumong tells him he was moving randomly and he just happened to come here. Jumong asks why a future crown princess Daiso would come all the way to Hyonta City oftenly. Daiso furiously says he came here because he thought that if the present condition with the Han Nation gets worse. After leaving he calls for Dong-sun. He asks whether the Iron soldiers are able to recognize the ones that helped the refugees to escape if they see them. Dong-sun says yes since there are soldiers who fought against them. That night they immediately send the Iron Army to capture Jumong and his men. Jumong was inside with Sono having some romantic moment. Marie comes in and inform him they are in trouble. So Sono tells them to escape behind this place, and there is a stable with horses. But it was too late as the army have already surrounded the whole area. They have no choice, so they decide to fight them. Right now they are undistributed since they killed some of the Iron soldiers. In brief words, they are dangerous. They manage to kill some soldiers and escape the city. Daiso the next day returns to Buyo with the Han Iron Smith. He immediately comes and informs the king. He says the workers he brought are refugees who escaped from Hyonta City's steel factory. They were being pursued by the soldiers and he rescued them. The king grants him permission to take them to Ironware Workshop. They bring them to Mopamo, but these dudes are so arrogant with a lot of swagger. They inform Mopamo from now on, while they are working here, Mopamo and his men should not enter the workshop, and they start their work that night. The next day the king comes and tests the swords, realizing the swords are hard and unbreakable. Jumong and his men reach the Chomu Sun. Jumong tells his men he's returning to Buyo not as a prince, but as a descent of Damuyi army, and he tells them the truth how his father is the late General Hamosu, not His Majesty Gimwa. In Buyo they held the function to test the sword. Bodyguard Naru will use the sword from Buyo, and Daiso will use the newly developed sword. They start fighting while Naru is guarding until Daiso breaks his sword. Daiso hands the sword to the king, and inform him the sword is not at the same level as that of the Han. So the king decide to prepare a banquet for the blacksmiths, and each will receive 50 rolls of silk. Mopamo decide to ask these men their special way to make the sword. Their leader tells him if anybody can know it, it won't be special, and he concludes by telling Mopamo to try his best until the day he dies. Mopamo feels disappointed about himself and refuses to join the banquet. The king sends a special wine to Mopamo, since this achievement was built upon Mopamo's lifelong work. Mopamo thinks he's worthless to be appreciated by the king. Jumong and his men returns to Buyo. He tells his men he's returning to the palace, so they should also go back to the merchant group. Jumong meets his mother and inform him how his journey was. Seong informs Sosono Jumong returned to the palace, and how Daiso brought blacksmiths from Hyon to city and made a steel sword. Sosono tells him to send a message to their merchant group in Hyon to city and ask them what deal did Daiso made with the governor. Jumong comes and meet the king. As they are having some conversation, Daiso comes and they inform him His Majesty is with Prince Jumong. Gimwa tells Jumong about his father Hamosu, and although Jumong is Hamosu's offspring, Gimwa says Jumong is his son whom he raised by his own hands. Jumong asks the king what kind of sins did his father Hamosu commit to be killed brutally by Daiso and Young Po. Jumong says he can't forgive brother Daiso and Young Po. He comes out and meet Daiso. He tells him instead of wandering, Jumong should think about what he can do for His Majesty and Buyo. Daiso says when he become the crown prince, he will let Jumong do whatever he wish. Jumong tells him he will live the way he want and he leave. They inform the king Daiso wants to meet him. Instead the king tells him to leave right away. Lady Yoa tells Jumong why he brought him into the Buyo palace when he was just infant. If Jumong is to accomplish Hamosu's unfilled mission, he need power, but Jumong don't have an army following him. The next day Jumong comes to Chief Yuntabal's place and inform him it's time for him to go back to the palace to help His Majesty. After that he meets his men and inform them he will summon them to the palace soon. The king gathers all the loyal subjects and calls Jumong. Just like Daiso and Young are in charge of Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Military. King Gimwa informs everyone he will entrust Prince Jumong with the duty of commanding the royal bodyguards. This role means Jumong is the second powerful man beside after the king. They move to the king's chamber and the king informs him from now Jumong will be carrying out His Highness orders that the outside must not know. After he tells Jumong although Daiso and Young Po have sinned greatly against him, the king don't want to see them brothers fighting with inveterate grudges. Prime Minister meets Daiso and inform him the commander of the bodyguards is no different from being His Majesty's most trusted man, and it's the position that can receive orders, which can deeply affect the country. Jumong meets his mom wearing his new uniform. She inform him in order to carry out great plan, he need people to work for him, so he should make an effort to get the officers, as well as the palace maids to be on his side. As he's moving around he meets Young Po. He informed Jumong to forget about the ill feelings they had for each other in the past, so he invite him to drink and have a heart-to-heart talk together. Songju says because they made Oi, Muri and Hyok Bo bodyguards, some guests are not happy with that. Jumong comes and meet the royal bodyguards. He calls out Oi. He tells the rest if any of them wishes to have a match with Ohi. One steps out and they decide to have a match. Ohi who was fighting the Iron Army didn't take long to beat this dude. After that Jumong tells them from this moment on, they will be going through some heavy training in sword fighting, archery, and duels. And right away they begin the training. The royal bodyguards have to be the best fighters in Buyo. This means he's training his own army. After Jumong shows his men the map of the royal court and all places within the palace since they are not familiar with the palace. After he comes to Ironware Workshop and realize Mopamo is no longer working, Musong takes them to him but he drinks like no tomorrow. Jumong tells him to go to Gyaru Iron Chamber and find the secret of parching techniques. He then tells Musong to escort Mo Parmo to Gairu, which frustrates him. Jumong needs him to protect Mo Parmo. After he meets an Chief Yuntabal and they arrange his journey, so Sono escorts him to Gairu. It has been while since she was here. They meet Yang Tak, the person who's temporarily in charge of Gairu while Chief Yuntabal is away. So Sono says she's going to hold a meeting for the chiefs. They take Mo Parmo to the ironware workshop. They hand him the hand sword. After Sono goes and meet the chiefs, Yuna Chief says Yuntabal made a lot of profit by trading in Buyo, and he no longer care about Cholban. The chiefs begin complaining. Song Yang, the chief of Biriyu, says this meeting is supposed to be summoned by the head chief. He sees no point to discuss with Sono. Sono tells them she's here because the chief delegated all his authority to her. She informed them how chief opened ironware workshop by the help of Buyo, meaning Yuntabal is not only trading, but is working on Cholban's future. Cholban is nation made up by a lot of clans including Gairu. That night in Buyo, Jumong was training his soldiers. His mom was aside watching. The king also comes and join her. I can't wait to quit this training, being beaten like this. After Lady Yowa tells the king he's in a dangerous situation, he drove Yomilu out in order to protect his authority. Although the divination palace's influence weakened, another influence have arose. The queen and her relatives, palace emissary Gong Jong, chief mager of Sakuldo, have taken over the palace. Priestess Maro Ryong is also nothing but queen's puppet, and if he invests Daiso as the crown prince at this time, it's like giving them wings to fly. The next day in the royal court, palace emissary informed the king it's time they put an end to the competition and invest the new crown prince, and all other ministers agrees to this. Instead, the king tells them he still need time to think before appointing the crown prince. When the meeting is over, Daiso follows the king. He asks what more His Majesty want him to do for his approval. We shall continue from here the next time. Subscribe to the channel to help it out. Thanks for watching.